Hey everyone, so this is my review of The Good Doctor, Season 1, Episode 2, called Mount Rushmore. And essentially what this episode is about is that Dr. Sean Murphy's ability to sort of overanalyze people really causes some problems for him on his first day at his job as a doctor. And Dr. Claire Brown has to learn a lesson about honesty when it comes to her having to diagnose one of her patients with a really sort of terrible disease. And this was a really entertaining and really interesting episode that was mostly dedicated to them just sort of introducing Sean to the world of surgery and the world of the ER. And it was very kind of fun and a little bit funny how with Sean they gave him a lot of like the grunt work, or I don't remember what they actually called it, but it was just a lot of the work that other people didn't want to do. And he didn't see it as like terrible work or this disgusting gross work. He just saw it as work that needed to be done, and that I really enjoyed about his character and how they did it. And it was really interesting how they decided to sort of take the ideas around Sean where he was really afraid to sort of let people go unless he knew that they were completely and totally healthy. And that caused a lot of different problems because he was like overanalyzing and over-testing people. So then by the end of this he sort of had to learn the lesson of like, as a doctor you can't treat people from every illness that you think they might have. You only can really treat them for the right now and let them go and see if they come back with something new. But you just can't do everything for them. And it was interesting with it for the fact that for the most part that like lesson of everybody's problems isn't like the worst case scenario and stuff like that Sean kind of thought it was, that most of the time it's very simple problems and stuff like that. And that, like I said, that was the case for most of the patients that he dealt with for this episode. But then they ended up twisting it where there was one patient where that wasn't true, that the worst case scenario ended up being the real problem. So that was very interesting with how they decided to take that and how they decided to fix that problem, especially with that one patient. And then it was a little sad and a little disappointing how Sean was sort of outcasted from the rest of this group of doctors because the head of surgery didn't really want him there. So he was very much sidelined, and then it was disappointing when Sean did have a great idea for how to treat this sort of main patient lady for this episode, and then when that idea was actually done, someone else took credit for it because Sean wasn't around. And with that guy taking credit for it, it was very interesting with his conversation with Claire later, where they were talking about all this stuff and Claire being really disappointed in this guy because of the fact that he took credit for Sean's idea. But then the guy sort of relaying back to her that it's the same thing that she's going to do later, where she's going to take credit for this surgery being a success when originally she didn't want to go with Sean's idea because they thought it was just a terrible idea, that she was more willing to let this patient die than to do this kind of surgery. So for her to take credit for it, that she helped out in the surgery and stuff, was very much the same sort of strain of ideas as him taking credit for Sean's idea. And that was just really interesting and sort of a great brain puzzle in my mind because it kind of rings true that it is in the same vein of things, so I really enjoyed that. And then it was very interesting with what this episode did with like who is on Sean's side and thinks that he deserves to be there and give him a chance, and those who don't want him there. That was very interesting, and then it was even more interesting how on both sides there were people who were just sort of using Sean to their own advantages, as well as people who generally did care for Sean and were trying to do what they believed was best for him. So all that I just really enjoyed with how everyone sort of fit into that whole sort of scheme of everyone around Sean. And then the flashback moments in this episode were very interesting and really great to sort of show more of how Sean grew up. And then like the final flashback moment of this episode was really sad with Sean hanging on to the dying body of his brother while the president of this hospital is sort of trying to drive them to get the brother some help. And just overall, this was a really, really entertaining and really great episode, and I'm very interested to see what's going to happen next. So, yeah, that's my review of The Good Doctor, Season 1, Episode 2, called Mount Rushmore. So, yeah, bye!